So what do you need for a successful gravel group ride and a hangout? Well, of course you need cool bikes, you need good trails with fair weather, you need cool people and a cool venue, and of course you need some delicious food. So actually, turns out you need kind of a lot of stuff. And last weekend, the stars aligned and we had all of those things. In this video, a recap of the first gravel event that we kind of organized and promoted, which we're calling Ritchey Hangout 2024. So the ride was a no-drop gravel route starting at Maverick Cycles here in Whittier, California. Now personally, I didn't know how many people to expect. I was kind of hoping for at least 10 to 15 cyclists, so I was pretty overwhelmed when somewhere between 40 and 50 showed up. Certainly excited, but a little bit overwhelmed. Anyways, we set off through Friendly Hills for a bit of a warm-up climb, regrouping at the Arroyo San Miguel trailhead for a quick breather, followed by the first dirt descent. After that, another quick regroup followed by a cruise through the streets of Whittier, again regrouping at the Turnbull Canyon trailhead. Now from there, the group started to stretch out a little bit as this was the longest climb of the day, but some of us opted for a short extra credit out and back climb up to the Turnbull water tower, which gave the rest of the group some time to catch up. After that, we were rewarded with a mellow dirt descent down the mountain ridge, stopping for some quick photos at the lower ridge water tower before tackling the steeper second half of the descent. From there, it was a twisty road descent back into town, and then a relatively straight shot back to the shop.
Thanks, dude. That was a fun descent.
In total, the ride was about 23 miles, with roughly 2,200 feet of climbing. And yes, we did stop a lot to regroup, but we were definitely proud of not losing a single rider along the way. Now I know what it feels like to be dropped off the back of a group ride, and we definitely didn't want that to happen to anybody. So I was doing my best to manage the group, but the real hero of the day was my buddy Brian, who ran sweep for the ride and made sure that nobody was left behind. By the time the last of the group rolled into the shop, there was already a line at Bet Bet Kitchen, which is a pop-up run by my buddy Andrew and his wife Kendra. Now Andrew's an amazing chef and he spent a ton of time developing the menu for this event. He describes the food as wood-fired cuisine with an Asian influence. Really, really good stuff, and everyone seemed to enjoy it. So Ritchey is a small company with a focus on practical and timeless design. They don't actively chase trends, and the sort of no BS vibe of the company has, I think, attracted sort of a cult following over the past few decades. So when a few Ritchey owners reached out to me on Instagram while I was building up my Outback, it got the ball rolling to plan some type of a Ritchey meetup. So I reached out and floated the idea of a Ritchey Hangout to Fergus, who's the marketing manager over at Ritchey and also happens to be a really cool dude, and he was immediately on board. Now it was awesome to see all the Ritcheys that came out. There were a lot of new builds, but also a surprising amount of previous generation Ritcheys, which is really a statement of longevity and timeless design. Now, of course, none of this would have been possible without a solid venue, and Kevin, who runs Maverick Cycles, was generous enough to open up the space for this event. Now, Maverick is a small shop with a high density of really cool stuff, plus he serves top-notch espresso drinks, so naturally I started coming here pretty frequently. There's also a decently sized lot out front, which was perfect for the Ritchey tent and Andrew's pop-up. Now, if you're in the area and you haven't been by this shop, I highly recommend it. So I'm not exactly sure what this video was. Mostly, I just wanted to share the event with all of you who weren't able to attend. But also, maybe just to highlight a couple of things that I think went well and that I'd like to see in other group ride events out there. So firstly, we advertised the ride as being no drop and beginner friendly. And I think it was really important for us to stick to that because, like I said, I've been on no drop rides in the past, and a couple of times I was completely dropped with nobody sweeping up the stragglers. It's definitely not a good feeling, and we really didn't want anyone to get dropped. So again, choosing this route to be challenging but not over the top was a conscious effort. Plus, with Brian as a dedicated sweep, we had that added insurance that no one would be left behind. And so having a pair of eyes at the back of the group, in my opinion, is just a must for any ride claiming to be beginner friendly. And then lastly, something pretty simple but I think is very effective is posting the route beforehand. Now, it's not always done, but I think it helps people to gauge whether or not the ride is appropriate for them before they come out to the ride. Now, personally, I find that more often than not, a group ride is advertised without a specific route, and I get it, you can't always post the exact route ahead of time, but for me, it definitely helps to be able to study the route a little bit and gauge whether or not I have the confidence to tackle it. And I'm sure it's the same for other cyclists who maybe aren't super confident or just want to know if they'll be able to handle it ahead of time. All right, well, that's about it for this one. It was a really fun event, and we're definitely already looking forward to planning the next one. Thanks again to Fergus and Kevin and Andrew, Brandon, everyone else who helped make it happen. Now, whether this becomes an annual thing or semi-annual or even quarterly, we're not sure yet, but I'll definitely keep you posted. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you next time.